Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Virtually Visiting Writers, a web-based visiting writers series in which writers read a bit of their work, have a bit of conversation, and then give a writing prompt for people to use either in creative writing classes or at home for their own writing pleasure. Today, we are really very happy to have Suzanne Roberts, a poet and a creative nonfiction writer, to come talk to us today about how to write the lyric essay, which she's going to define for us and then read an example of and then give us a prompt for. She's the author of Almost Somewhere, 28 Days on the John Muir Trail, University of Nebraska Press, and the forthcoming Bad Tourist Misadventures in Love and Travel, coming out in 2020. In addition to 4 full-length poetry collections, she is a professor and creative writer at Sierra Nevada College's low residence MFA program in creative writing. Please welcome Suzanne Roberts. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful to have you here. I'm very curious. You talked to me a little bit about it, but I wonder if you might start off by defining what you mean by the lyric essay.
Well, I think I see the lyric essay as the love child between a poem and an essay. I think the essayist uses like the narrative bag of tricks from the fiction writer, dialogue, setting, character development, but also uses the bag of tricks from the poet. And if you think about a poem and how we define a poem, you think about the idea of musicality. And so you're thinking really about sound, you're thinking about form, right? It's really important. You're also thinking about the idea of the line as a segment rather than the sentence. And also this sort of obsession with the image. And so I think that the lyric essay borrows from all of those things. So in a lyric essay, really looking at an essay that's prose, but it's obsessed with image. It also uses lines often rather than full sentences. And it's very musical in a lot of ways. And it asks the reader to make more cognitive leaps than, of course, the sort of more narrative-based essay would. And so it's also like that in that it's like a poem, in that there's leaps within the work, but the reader also has to make those leaps. It's more intuitive in that way.
So organizationally, it's less linear and logical. It's more sort of an osmosis between ideas and organic. Would you say that would be a good statement?
Yeah, and I think it's really playful. Like, I think in some ways, you know, poems are, the best poems are really playful, and the best lyrical essays are playful and borrow from really different forms. So some lyrical essays are like in, you know, segments, some are in collage, some are in like the hermit crab, where you're writing an essay that's like a grocery list or a horoscope or instructions. And it's really not that. It's really about something else. And I actually think that for me, I use a lyric essay when I'm trying to access really difficult material. So when I'm writing about something that's really hard for me, it's easier if I say, okay, I'm going to take this avalanche bulletin. I mean, I'm a backcountry skier and I read the avalanche bulletin every day. It's actually an essay I'm working on right now. I'm really excited about that. Like, I'm going to look at like the different, you know, high avalanche, extreme avalanche danger. And then I'm going to fill in some kind of material that's really difficult to access by thinking about the language of avalanches. So there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Fantastic. Wonderful, wonderful. I wonder if you might start then by reading us an example of a lyric essay.
I will. This is a really short essay. And often when I come up with a lyric essay, it's because I'm not sure if it's going to be a poem or prose. And then I just write the work and I kind of let it tell me what it wants to be. This is an essay that you and I workshopped about 10 years ago in Sholay Woolby's house. And I didn't know whether it was a poem or an essay. I still maybe don't, but I think it's a lyric essay. And it's a hermit crab essay. So it's pretending to be like a definition of what an essay is, but it's really about my relationship with my mother, and it's some pretty difficult material, and this is the best way that I could find to access it. Okay, and it's called The Essay Determines How It Will Begin. The essay is a transgression The night you move back in with your ex-husband, you dream you're in bed with your mother. The essay reveals the world we grew up in. Mother goes on a date with a neighbor 6 days after daddy's death, then stands in the hallway, her naked breasts cupped in her hands. Do you think I should have them lifted? The essay is a dilemma. When you leave mother's house, you have a dream you abandoned a baby in the desert, forgot about him until it was too late. You write a poem about the dead baby, then climb on top of your ex-husband and imagine he's a dolphin, and you can breathe salt water. The essay is unremarkable. When you think of daddy, you remember his canvas shoes, rubber-soled, bought at the CVS. You think of him on the way to the grocery, pushing a vacuum through the black end of his days. The essay is a discovery, found hidden in the filing cabinet. 3 bottles of rye, 2/5 of gin, a carton of Winston's between daddy's files, plays he'd written, soap opera scripts, television treatments. The essay is a bit of wobble in the system. Mother says you have wasted thousands on therapy, says she would have given you all the advice you needed for free. The essay is ruthless. Grandfather locked mother in the dark coal house with the spiders, set her on his lap every New Year's Eve and asked for a kiss on the lips. Nanny drowned a sack of kittens, cooked mother's pet rabbit. The essay is a naming. You are forbidden to call her mother. Mom's better. Mommy is best. The essay is a reciprocity. Mother was a beauty queen. Nanny found her a man, much older than young mother, and married. The essay is a betrayal. Nanny says it's only bad being blind in the middle of the night when you are alone in the dark. When the black-haired girl there, she points in the direction of the ceiling on the tightrope, comes, asking for salt. The essay is a dying wish. It is raining and you are soaked from walking in it. Daddy has come out onto the wet streets in his car to find you. He begs you to get in, tells you he's dying. He makes you promise you won't break up with mother after he's gone. The essay is a black hole. Into it went daddy, his twin sister, and her kind husband, young grandmother who burned up in a plane crash long before you were born, a grandfather and 2 more wives. The second wife drove into a snowplow on purpose after young uncle fell out of the window. 3 cousins in Auschwitz, another cousin who liked the drink, a young brother-in-law who hoped eating from wooden spoons would cure cancer, an uncle who drowned in the bathtub on purpose, Nanny who had gone blind and could no longer make up her face nice for the pub. Into it went a guinea pig named Alfie, your 2 favorite dogs, and the fetus you carried briefly. The essay is an accumulation of grief. Mother says, get over it. The essay is a definition for love. You ask Daddy, what's fuck? Making love, he answers. You still don't understand. The boy from your school said the kicked in door was fucked. You try to equate that with love. You are 7 and you are afraid to ask more questions. That Daddy will shout at you, but he doesn't. Today he calls you kiddo, asks what kind of ice cream you'd like on your cone. Mint chip, you say. I would like mint chip. The essay is an inheritance. Mother keeps Daddy on the shelf, says you better not throw them both away if she pops off. When, you say, when you pop off. Don't be mean, she says. Why are you always so mean? The essay is a promise. You say you'll take them to the desert, watch the boxes burn, the smoke rising into a star-winking sky. You wouldn't dare, Mother says. No water either. We'll be fine in your closet. The essay determines how it will end. The story is a papier-mâché carnation. The essay is a spotted purple orchid on your table, the one whose name you don't know, the one that looks fake but is real.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Very Dizzy Gillespie. A lot of melody and riffing in that essay. Well, okay. Shifting gears a little bit. Thank you for that. Do you have an exercise or a little writing advice or a bit of exercise you could give to our viewers who might want to write their own kind of lyric essay?
I do, absolutely. So, as I mentioned earlier, there are like lots of different kinds of lyric essays. And so my advice or exercise is that if you have some difficult subject that you're trying to approach, and you've already maybe tried to approach it through a poem or a story or an essay that's just not working, or maybe it's just in your mind, it's something you've been wanting to write and you somehow can't figure out how to get into it, I would say try this idea of the hermit crab, which is like, it's basically, you know, a form that hides sort of the real meaning. So like I said with the avalanche bulletin, so think about interesting ways that we communicate. So it could be like, you know, like I have another essay that I'm actually looking at right now that I wrote, called Hawks and Other Flying Things. And it's all organized by kinds of birds. So like a chronology of birding or something like that. So think about like different, you know, ways that we communicate, like grocery lists, receipt, a syllabus for a writing class, a, you know,
Hmm.
horoscope, a want ad, personal want ad, you know, like they used to have. I guess they still sort of have those, or, you know, some kind of way that you can organize your thoughts. And it could be days of the week, it could be months, it could be postcards from places you've been. So any kind of organizing strategy. And it might be that the organizing strategy goes out the window, but then you've written the essay. And it might be that you know, that you halfway through, you realize, oh my gosh, this needs to be, you know, my favorite books when I was a child, instead of a list of, you know, lipstick colors or whatever it is. So just thinking about, you know, different lists, different ways to make collages, and then just fill it in and see how it goes, you know. And so that's the writing exercise, is to try one of these hermit crabs. Yeah.
That's wonderful. It's kind of a structural metaphor, almost saying, here's one rhetoric, here's another rhetoric, you put them two together and see how the content and the form make something new. It's a wonderful idea. Thank you so much,
You're
Suzanne.
welcome.
Robert, wonderful to hear you, and nice to see you again. And
Great.
have a great one.
You too. Thanks, Tony.